Welcome to the Explosive Strength Podcast with Jared Bidney. On today's episode, I'm just going to do a Q&A stuff that I've got from Instagram and actually emails. So anyway, here we go. Hi, Mr. Bidney. My name is Bradley Johnson. I'm a senior in high school and I run track as a sprinter. I have followed you on Instagram and listened to your podcast for some time. I have many books by Louis and have trained at Westside Barbell for a couple of days last spring. I've been using your techniques, but I have a few questions on how can I improve my speed. I see that you use a tendo unit to measure bar speed, but I can't afford a tendo unit. In one of your podcasts, you mentioned that you use other devices to measure bar speed. Could you give recommendations about those? I've researched myself and I found that Bar Sensei appeared to be adequate. I was also wondering if you knew of any gyms in Indianapolis area that follows your same principles. Well, Bradley, I don't know of any gyms up there as of right now, but hopefully I will in the future. I'm trying to do a lot better job of getting out there, visiting gyms, talking with more people. I've kind of been quiet over the years, just kind of been doing my own thing. But I found that communication and talking with others is key, and we're going to try to mosey around and maybe do podcasts with other gym owners and things like that. Let's see. Other devices. You said Bar Sensei and other devices. I use a tendo unit and I also have a Squats and Science bar speed measure, but it's through Open Barbell. They do not put that thing out very often. But the thing about that one, it's a little lightweight and it's more for like, in my opinion, it's more for like personal use, not what I do at the gym. I've used the tendo units for 6, maybe 7 years now. And the thing with the tendo units is they have been consistent. And when I use the Squat and Science units compared to the tendo at a higher volume of people, I guess I wear them out quicker because they don't read consistently over time. I was using them with my girls' basketball team at the university. And one day, one of them just all of a sudden started reading higher and higher, and then there's no way to kind of reset it to where it can just be starting over or what have you. And so I paid a lot less. I think I paid $250 for that. But sometimes I'm a big believer in you get what you pay for. You can save, like with the Squat Science, you don't need an iPad or another device to help read it. That's the one good thing about it. The Squats and Science thing, I can use it with my bench press. My stroke pattern when I bench is too small for the tendo unit. So the tendo unit does not pick up my bench speed because I think you got to move it at least 12 inches to get a good reading. So if you got a short person, sometimes it does not read when they squat, depending on how high the box is when they box squat. So that's the one thing bad about the tendo unit, but the Squats and Science, that's the plus thing, is it reads even the smallest range of motion. So if you get a Squats and Science, if it's not going to be highly used, like I do with multiple athletes, that could be good. But you're not going to get one because you have to pay attention. Squatsandscience.com or openbarbell.com or something like that. Not really sure what it is. They don't have them all the time, and they don't come out with them all the time. So once they start advertising, hey, we're going to get it, you need to order it when it pops out because they are sold really quick. Now, as far as Bar Sensei goes, I don't really trust a device that that's not tethered, which means the tendo unit has a string that attaches to the bar, and you can read it like that. The Squat and Science has a thing like that, and the GymAware also has a tether to it, to where it actually directly attaches to the bar. And sometimes when you get Bluetooth devices, just like your phone, they don't always connect. You can miss a rep. There can be some inconsistencies with that. I do believe I don't have a Bar Sensei. I wouldn't use one. It'd probably get destroyed at the gym for as much use, ripping the Velcro off and on the bar all the time. And sometimes people don't care about my stuff. But as far as the Bar Sensei, you're going to spend $500 on a Bar Sensei, then you're going to have to buy a device to help you read it. So like an iPad or iPhone or some type of another device. So if you're going to have the Bar Sensei for $500 and you're going to buy a $600 iPad, you're already out $1,100. The thing about the Bar Sensei, and I was at actually Georgia Tech last week, they have some GymAware. I've never dealt with GymAware before, but Georgia Tech has GymAware. And the GymAware and from what I'm seeing, the Bar Sensei, you have to have an iOS device, or I keep saying iOS. They don't necessarily have to be an iOS device, but the GymAware at Georgia Tech runs off an iPad. Once you go through so many dates with updates with an iPad, then it does not update. So now they have GymAware things that are much more expensive than a Tendo unit, but they can't use them because they don't have the updates. Then now they, through the funding of the athletic department, they don't have the funds to go out and buy immediate iPads when something goes out. As to where with a Tendo unit, it's there. You got a direct reading in front of you, and you don't need something extra. So that's why I like the Tendo unit. Basically, you don't need anything extra. And with the Bar Sensei, you would. With the GymAware, you would. So I don't have time to sit there, all of a sudden update come out, then I have to go buy another device when I've already spent X number of dollars on something else. Why not buy once? I'm a big believer in you get what you pay for. Like I said, you buy the Tendo once and you're done. You don't have to have all this other specialized equipment, especially if you're just worried about meters per second per se on that. So that's why I'm, again, a real big believer in the Tendo unit. All right, my next question comes from KB Athletics. Hey, I've been listening to your podcast. I want to say great stuff. I'm interested in how you waive your bench press workouts. You really intrigued me when you said on your latest podcast that you do a lot of paused benches. Is there any way that you can elaborate on that? Do you waive your percentage when you do that? Sets, reps? How long do you pause? Do you vary where you pause? Also, your thoughts on overhead pressing in correlation with the bench press. Thanks for the content. Let's work backwards. Correlation to overhead press with bench press. I do not like overhead pressing, especially for beginners and younger athletes. The thing I'm an arm dominant bencher, and I try to get my other athletes to be more arm dominant to take some of the stress out of the shoulders. So therefore we arch. When you bench, if you do a lot of overhead pressing, that you're making that delt much stronger than the triceps. And so when you're first teaching an athlete to learn how to bench correctly, they need to become more arm dominant, so their triceps need to be stronger than their shoulder. Well, if you continue to stress that anterior delt through, it's getting stressed with bench, then you add it again with overhead movements, that delt's getting stronger. It's going to make that tricep, or take that tricep a longer time to override that shoulder strength. And so I don't like shoulder pressing for that reason. I know that if you increase your shoulder, it could increase your bench press. But like I said, I don't do it because I need my athletes, their triceps. Once you become more advanced, then it may be okay. Once you learn how to use your triceps when you bench. But for beginners, if they're not really very arm dominant, I don't like it, so we don't do it. And even with some like Colton, who benched 405 for a double as a high school junior, never did it. I got another kid this year coming out. Hopefully he does it. So anyway, to answer your questions, I don't really use the overhead press at all because I'm really focused on my triceps. How long do you pause? Where do you pause? Do you vary the pause? We treat the pause as if you're in a USAPL powerlifting competition. So in a typical competition, start, press, rack. That's the commands of the bench press. When you're in competition, once the bar becomes completely motionless, then you drive it up, okay? No oscillations or vibrations in the bar, so come down, complete pause, then drive it up. So the quicker you pause, dead still bar, then press it up. So maybe a second. So if I was going to start, touches my chest, press, and then try to accelerate the bar as quickly as possible. So the pause, sometimes in competition, if you give a kid too much caffeine, the bar shakes. And so a judge may or may not call the up command because the bar is shaking. So make sure, depending on if you're not in competition or whatever, pause, dead stop, almost like a box squat, come down, pause, press, not just a slight pause and press, a good pause, then a press. That will really help with the static dynamic method. I do not vary where we pause. I try to pause in the same spot, try to get my bar in a groove to where when we're benching that it's pretty much touching the same spot all the time. If I hit a spot on my chest, for me, that's going to make my bench press rep a lot harder. So we try to touch in the same spot just like we would in competition. That way we're directly correlating it with bench press. So no, we do not vary where we pause. really intrigued me. We said, do you pause bench? Any way you could elaborate on that? We made pause bench for a month. We made incline pause. We made flat bench pause. We made floor press. We switched kind of to be more conjugate. We switch more monthly instead of more workout E. You know what I'm saying? So we're not switching. We're not coming in and benching Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if we bench 3 days a week, we're not going to come in and bench Monday, Wednesday, Friday, pause, bench, pause, incline, then floor press those days. We're going to stick with a bench. We're going to get a result out of it. Then next month we may change. So in order to change your bench, you got to change. But if you change too often, you do not get a result, because the younger the athletes, the less of the stimulus they're going to get from it. So that's why they need to be hit with it more and more. Another question: do you strictly run speed strength on your athletes, or will you wave strength speed in? We primarily actually use strength speed in the workouts. I'm just curious. So I'm sorry. Do we use strength speed, or do we use speed strength? Let me see. Do you strictly run speed strength on your athletes, or do you wave in strength speed? Well, we use strength speed most of the time. Okay. Just because I think the speed strength the bar moves too fast, so the athletes are not getting enough tension under the bar when the bar moves too quick, so they're not going to get as much strength out of it. We need that explosive strength, so we're doing strength speed and not speed strength very often. You said I've been running a lot of strength speed, max effort work, then explosive strength jumps. One more question. Do you use vertical jumping more than box jumping? It would be a good idea to have one time a week do weighted certs or box or jumps, then one time a week do multi hops. No, like it's kind of almost like the bench press. Find something and stick with it. So like if you're gonna, I was talking to Bird at Bird Sports Performance about this the other day. Most athletes are bad at jumping off 2 feet. So what we'll do is we'll mainly just do a vertical jump, or we do a depth jump. I will throw box jumps in there just for show, but I don't like box jumps a whole lot. Most of the time when an athlete, to develop the highest verticals, a step down is required before the jump up. So when you do a box jump, the athletes are not really focused on getting up as high as possible as much as driving the knees up to try to get on the box. The thing about the jump mat is you can use the jump mat with a depth jump, fall down, hit the mat, jump up, boom, complete extension, land, get a number, and that's easier to beat. That way they're focused on complete extension instead of just hopping off the ground and trying to get the knees up in the air as quickly as possible for the box. And same thing with the dumbbells. You have to have a certain amount of external load to increase jumping ability. If you just jump with strictly body weight, it's not going to improve much. Kind of almost like the wiffle ball throwing scenario. You can stand 25, 30 feet away and you're never going to throw a wiffle ball through a glass. If the weight's too heavy, it's like a bowling ball, you can throw it. It's too heavy to get to the glass. You got a baseball, it's going to have optimal mass weight ratio. And so once you figure out the weights for your athletes, like I said, I'm going to try to come up with a book so I can tell you how I've done it. I'll be able to answer questions. I want to try to really help people understand jumping. I hate it when people say they can't jump. They can jump. It just takes a little bit of time to train that in them. Okay. So what I'm saying is don't switch your jumps too often. If you got someone that's good off of 2 feet jumping and they suck off 1 foot, have them do multi hops over hurdles and different things like that. Maybe a reactive box jump, or we do, instead of using jump, like when you see the seated box vertical where they sit on the box, slam their feet ground, jump on the box. We don't really do that. We'll do it for show, but we mainly do it still jumping on the jump mat. That way we get a concrete number and really work on our extension of the hips. Because all the jumping is how quickly the hips extend and then the extension at the same rate. So use your squat to increase your strength and use your jumps as your RFD, your rate of force development exercise. Someone said, do we use bands? You don't see us using a lot of bands. No, we don't do speed squats. Our speed squats are our jumps, because that's our dynamic effort method, because our jumps are correlated to our running speed and our jumps are our jumps. So we're not concerned with speed squatting as much as we are using the dynamic effort method in athletics with the different variations of a jump. So I hope I answered all of your questions. If you feel free, please send questions in. If I did not answer the questions on today's podcast, please email me, message me on Instagram at Explosive Mechanics. My email is at info@explosivemechanics.com. Thanks for writing in. I hope you'll have a good day. Hopefully have another podcast out this week. All right, guys, thanks.